play around. But if we actually see JDG playing these super long range compositions, they're 2 out of 8 at the moment. Like, it's not exactly the best scoreline for these like poke compositions that we've seen from JDG. So if you're actually going to force them onto that, you're going to be fine. But we are getting JDG on towards what has been JDG's bread and butter. This Gwen in the top lane for Zoom, Engage coming through from LvMao in the bottom lane, and this is going to be a case of, hey look, can we try and set up Zoom for success, get him into either that 1v1 where he can punish with this aggressive Gwen pick, or give him the resources he needs to succeed.
And honestly, I think that RNG are going to be happy to take the Jayce here. You can honestly go Jayce Twisted Faith and you would be totally fine with this composition. There's nothing wrong with you taking that, and this is going to put a lot of pressure onto that Gwen. We've seen it before. I think the last time Zoom played Gwen, he got solo killed by SOFM on the Lee Sin, who was an absurd moment, but they're not going to go the Twisted Fate this time around. They feel like they have enough room in the champion pools to be able to pick him a little bit later, so they're just going to lock in that Varus.
So I think what they're trying to do here is put a pinch onto JDG. Say, hey, look, you either pick your jungler for Kanavi, or we ban away the Ziggs and the Jhin away from Loken and make sure that you're not able to get your hands on it. Actually, they completely fool me, because I assume that's what you're going to see from JDG. They go towards the Twisted Fate, so kind of calling out Cryin, saying, hey, look, we know what your game plan is here. So for Cryin, we usually see him go back towards things like the LeBlanc and actually the Orianna against things like this Twisted Fate, try and like keep this Twisted Fate in lane. But we'll have to see if that's going to be the game plan. Silas banned away to stop the follow-up Destiny from Cryin.
Funny thing is, I don't think, we assume that Jayce is going to Xiaohu. Xiaohu is the one who always has played it, but it is still technically a flex. You can still put that Jayce into the Twisted Fate, and that is a fantastic matchup for the Chase. You have so much kill priority, and it's just so difficult for the Twisted Fate to get anywhere.
Yeah, I will say as well, it's a great matchup against the Gwen, which is why I'm kind of just assuming the Jayce is going up towards Xiaohu. You can end up punishing just the fact that as soon as the hollow is missed down, you're able to poke super effectively, and especially as you're able to knock back Gwen whenever she tries to go for these quick trades with the skip and slash, makes it a really good matchup for the Jayce. And especially in this matchup as well, Xiaohu likes to go for these fourth wave crashes, and I love to see it because it means there's a massive wave that you can potentially make a play with things like a Twisted Fate or something that's able to roam towards that top side, and also having way to facilitate that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Wei starting bot side here to try and go for some sort of nearly full clears the Lee Sin, take your scuttle, and then actually go for that play off of that fourth wave crash that Xiaohu has set up.
Funny enough, actually, coming into this draft, we haven't even really touched on it, but Thresh has gotten himself all the way down. Probably not even going to be picked up here. RNG still just cycling through everything they possibly have. The Alistar is still there. I don't expect the Lux to be locked in, so I'm not even going to talk about it, but a lot of different things they can go for, and they actually opt in for the Alistar. So good peel, good kiting, but also great engage should they need it.
Yeah, and I think that's the big tool here, is that the Thresh works wonders against the LEona, sucks against the Sivir. Spell Shield means you just never really get to land that hook. So instead, they're going towards the Alistar, which is, hey, look, Leona engages, I bop her up, I headbutt her away, we just reset the lane and we're totally fine. So this is where you're kind of looking to see, okay, we're going to take this very slow. And now again for Cryin, we said, hey, facilitators, trying to play the map, Galio fits that perfectly. So still we're seeing that Cryin is just going to try and neutralize this lane matchup and buy the movement for Wei to have an influence on this Lee Sin and play towards Xiaohu in that top lane.
Okay, Kanavi going back towards this Kha'Zix as well, so definitely seeing a lot of priority on this. Last time, of course, we saw it didn't have a great amount of success on it. It was a very much feast or famine kind of pick, but he is picking it consistently, so he does see a benefit in it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if you're going to be playing RNG style here of, hey, I want to be in a side lane and try to split push to Xiaohu, it can open up opportunities for Kanavi to try and get up there, influence that, try and shut him down. But when you look at the way RNG are going to be trying to play this, it feels like it's going to be a case of, hey, we have a hell of a lot of poke that's going to be coming through with the Jayce, with this Varus, and if we actually just group up as 5, it becomes really difficult for you as JDG to operate sort of around this pick composition where you are playing off the Twisted Fate and that Kha'Zix combo, looking to get the isolated damage off of the Destiny in as well.
We'll have to wait and see exactly how it all plays out. But for RNG, like you said, the facilitating mid lane, and they put a lot of eggs in the Xiaohu basket. It's a pretty big basket, though, because they haven't lost any just yet. And for JDG, it's all about shutting that down, all about stealing away those eggs from RNG and putting themselves into the ascendancy. In the early game, we can talk about it once we get into game, but it is generally seen that JDG do end up being a little bit more proactive, but they aren't the ones getting the most advantages.
Yeah, and that's a big one here, is that we see JDG tend to get a lot of kills in the early stages. They're like 3rd in the league if you look at for kill and assists at 15, but their objective control from that has been pretty abysmal. Like Rift Heralds, they're second last in the league. Their Dragon control is pretty average. Their towers at 15 are they're 11th in the league. They actually rely very heavily on continuous team fighting to make sure that they can actually get themselves the towers and the lead and kind of explode with these objectives towards the 20-minute mark. So we'll be keeping our eyes on RNG, who are very good at trading whenever they see these quick kills going across. So I'm curious to see now how RNG are going to counteract this aggression that we see from JDG and specifically Kanavi.
Have to wait and see. The Gyos going strong here in the crowd as RNG versus JDG will be jumping onto the Rift for game 1. And this is a very, very big series right now. RNG sitting down 6-5. They're at the bottom of playoffs, 10th place, but a win here literally leapfrogs them ahead of a couple of different teams, and they're constantly climbing. Like we said, the 5-game win streak so far is just looking very, very good. And JDG, they've looked shaky, so this would be a great reset for them just coming into those last few weeks of the season.
Yeah, as you said, like coming off a 2-loss streak against BLG against Sunyan as well. So this would definitely help them out. And it feels like we're kind of getting at least a little bit of comfort here for JDG with Zoom going back towards his Gwen. It's been his most played pick this bit. And certainly something that enables him to be a big menace in team fights. And that seems to be where JDG are most comfortable. But we'll have to see if he actually gets that point, because at least from the draft that I can see, and as we talked about with Wei starting on the spot side, it feels like RNG are going to continue putting pressure towards this top side.
Well, we do see this, the loss, you talked about it earlier today, but the harass that comes down, you can see LvMao just pushing in. Ming in a little bit of trouble, forced a flash as the Ignite goes down. The Boomerang Blade not enough to kill him off, but already advantages in this bot side for JDG.
And I don't know what RNG are thinking. I mean, Alistar is in a champion level 1. You just can't go for these. So LvMao manages to get that set up, gets a good amount of damage down, and although you're running the Aftershock, you can see the extended trade means that they're able to chase Ming down, and now...
Oh, they're going for it, but they are going to drop the Ignite. LvMao has to force his flash away, but his first blood, can he get away with it? Yes, he does. No level 2 just yet for Gala, so he did not have the piercing arrow. Great pressure here from JDG.
Phenomenal play from JDG. I mean, a 2v2 against Gala and Ming. And I mean, Gala and Ming really struggled in the bot lane against EDG. It didn't look like they were quite in the same page. And we're kind of seeing it again here. Unfortunately, Ming takes that step too far forward, and Loken and LvMao punish.
Great start for JDG, and this is what we wanted to see from them. This is what we expect for them. They are so good at getting these early kills. We do normally see it from Kanavi, who is just a monster of getting into every single lane, but now he doesn't need to worry about bot side as much. He knows that they're getting themselves their advantage, and this is an old school kill lane with the Sivir LEona. Sivir is just so powerful at that level 1 stage. That Boomerang Blade, if it hits you on the front and back, it just does so much.
Yeah, it makes it nigh on impossible to actually try and survive that lane, and that's why, especially in this early matchup, you can, at level 1, try to punish the Alistar. It's the level 2 where it makes it a bit easier because you can headbutt away, but as you can see, I mean, Ming just not really respecting that and ends up punished for it. Now, Wei making his way up towards this top side. We said, look, Xiaohu likes to try and crash this 4th wave so he has continuous pressure, and we see it here, right? He crashes that 4th wave. This is our 5th wave that's about to come in, and Wei's in a position now where he can try and punish Zoom underneath the tower.
Oh, Zoom put down the ward a little bit too late, stopped his back, and now he's underneath the tower. Wade's going to try and go in with a Sonic Wave. There is no flash, remember, on the Gwen. They're going to be able to get him and gift that kill over to Xiaohu. It's almost going to be going down. No, Xiaohu will fall back. He could not get out in time, so it is a trade, but you're still relatively happy with that if you're RNG.
You still lose a lot to that top tower as Zoom. You can see there the CS difference 8 in favor of Xiaohu. And look, we talked about, hey, look, when Kanavi spots the fact that Cryin is on the upside of the map, he needs to start making these plays. He needs to make sure that he's able to try and get some of these camps, but only gets a bit of vision down and not able to trade it back. But overall, RNG, you're still happy with that?
So very, very happy. And also Zoom, as you said, losing so much to that tower, had to use his TP. Xiaohu, yes, he dies, but still has his flash, still has his TP available, still around to make plays. We can now see a bit of engage in this bot side. Ming pretty happy to let LvMao go a little bit further on, as Gala wasn't in any immediate danger. And important to know as well, Ming has not leveled up. Now he has. He's got all 3 abilities. He didn't actually have his W there for a second, or his E, excuse me. So is he going to go for the Hex Splash? Yes, he is. There we go. The knock up and the knock back. They're going to be able to get LvMao, who has no real way out. And Wei finally makes himself known in this game.
Wei is just kind of taken over in these lanes. Yes, he's fallen behind when it comes to CS, but he's been so active in the lanes that it doesn't matter. He's got a 400 gold lead for himself in that jungle, and he's looking damn good at the moment. And when we just talked about, hey, you know, it's usually JDG that are coming out with these early kills, JDG that are the more aggressive squad. Wei is just saying, hold my beer.
And honestly, this is why the Kha'Zix is such a strange pick for me. I played a lot of Kha'Zix in my time, and he is very reliant on your lanes having that pressure, having a way to set him up. And if you're aware that the Kha'Zix might be in the right or the left, coming in from river, coming in from a brush, it's very easy to mitigate a lot of his pressure. Whereas Lee Sin, he doesn't care. He just needs to know that he will be followed up once he goes in. And it's why we're seeing such a priority on this pick.
And look, as you said, it's been an incredibly strong pick. Now, it is only a few minutes into the game, right? It feels like Kanavi's kind of got the worst for wear here, because we've got that dive on towards Zoom, that there was no one really there to try and stop it. And then that quick play on the bottom of the side, which was just a great play from Ming. So I think for Kanavi, he still has the opportunity to try and pick up speed here, work off of the pressure that he should have on this bottom side of the map, and see if he can track Wei now that he knows, hey, I've got to steal away those wolves. There's only that Gromp camp on that top side that Wei's just picked up for himself. So he will be moving back bot side. Let's see if I can try and match.
I love what RNG are doing here as well. They recognize the wolves, like as the wolves were being taken, you saw Wei walk in, so they knew that Kanavi had been in that jungle. So they run around with Cryin, see if they can find any pink wards, know that they're just saying, look, we need to make sure they're not getting all the information, all that resources, and making sure that they are as safe as possible. Not only that, but this Galio pick is going to be able to be in bot or top as soon as you like. If the Destiny is going in bot or top, you can follow it up. So RNG have a lot of answers to what JDG can do. It's going to be a bit of a skill check here for JDG.
Yeah, I feel like the way that they're going to be trying to play this as JDG is utilize the fact that it's like it takes a little bit of time here for Cryin to try and join into these fights. So if you can get Kanavi into the enemy jungle on towards Wei, have Yagao be the one setting up the play, you can very quickly burst out Wei and then deal with Cryin after. So I feel like this is the mid jungle 2v2 that we're going to see JDG try and play through, but it does become very difficult when Kanavi, already set behind, doesn't have a huge amount of priority in his lanes to try and play through.
Well, not going to be able to land the Shield of Duran, so no taunt there, but nice attempt here from RNG, Cryin and Wei, but then they can path up towards this top side. They're going to be fine trading this dragon for the moment. Kanavi happy enough to take this. Very easy for the Kha'Zix to take it with the isolation damage, but you can see Zoom already seeing that with Galio and Lee Sin no longer in his vision, he has to succeed top side.
The thing is, though, RNG don't really care about these early dragons. They're not a big worry about these early Rift Heralds as well. They're pretty average when you look at their stats. What they want is that first tower. And as you can see there, right? Cryin and Wei just dip out of mid lane for like a split second, and Zoom's like, I'm out. I don't want anything to deal with this. I'm gone. So you get more damage onto that top lane turret. You got 2 plates already taken, and you've already got that XP lead as well for Xiaohu. Now they turn their attention towards the Rift Herald with Xiaohu having pressure top, and they can just take that top turret whenever they want.
Normally speaking, I would say that the team with the support in the area first does have the advantage, but your Kanavi had just reset. Kanavi had just gone back to base. There was no real contest here. First, Rift Herald goes over to RNG, and we talked about that first tower so much time, but I don't see this going anywhere but top.
Yeah, and that's the way RNG
went,
God, right? And you're seeing
blue.
True. I mean, look, they just know. They just know. It's like, look, this is the carry. This is the person we need to start shoving that lane. And this is how RNG make it really difficult to answer for this top lane pressure, right? They go for the dive, and even though they go 1-for-1 in kills, where you're down experience, you're down on that gold. So when you come back to lane, Xiaohu already has an advantage. He's got an advantage in the matchup. He's consistently pushing the tower. And because Kanavi's trying to deal with Wei, who's been everywhere so far, he cannot counteract the pressure that's happening in RNG in that top side. And now Xiaohu set himself up wonderfully, and you can now get that Rift Herald play in the top side. And it's why Kanavi's now up in this top lane to try and see if he can get some sort of control to give Zoom a bit of a break.
And I like this as well. We talked about in the pregame how Ming and Wei comboing up to create advantages for themselves around the map is what we want to see them doing. Ming is going to try and maybe jump onto Yagao. They will not commit to it as the gold card was locked and loaded and Kanavi was sitting off in the wings. But now RNG, do you look for anything more? Nothing to be really had, so they just kind of back themselves up, put themselves back on the map, and get themselves some good resets.
But look at what RNG just did, right? You're worried, hey, look, Yagao just shoved in that wave. Maybe he can go for some sort of play with the Destiny. Cool. Ming, roam mid. Have Wade there as well. Put pressure on towards Yagao. Yagao cannot make this play. And now the lane's gone back to even Steven, so Cryin is never going to be late on that play. RNG controlling Yagao in that mid lane buys them space elsewhere on the map. And you can see Eclipse just completed now for Xiaohu. He's in a phenomenal spot. You're going to have a very quick mythic item completed here for Gala as well, and then you can start to make these plays. And if you ever get a lead as RNG, the siege potential is disgusting from this squad.
Right now, this is going to slow down a little bit. This is totally fine for RNG. When we speak of RNG, they are not your traditional LPL blow up and take as many advantages as you possibly can. They are more methodical, slower paced, if you will. They tend to take things a little bit more delicately, shall we say, and they, methodically, as they methodically move around the map. And speaking of moving around the map, we're going to drop down the Rift Herald, and there's going to be 3 people here onto Zoom, but there might be Kanavi and the Destiny Gate available. Do they look to try and just commit onto this one here? The Rift Herald is going to take a lot of damage and will fall because of the smite. So RNG do not get that first turret like they hoped just yet.
Nice job from JDG to respond to that. Yagao was teetering off, threatening the Destiny. Kanavi getting that right timing on the reset. So really good job from Kanavi to read that play and shut it down to Zoom.
Well, Zoom goes in with the needlework. It's going to be a little bit difficult to take down the Jayce, as now they can jump back in with the Galio ultimate as well. Destiny Gate has been used, but the shield around is enough to keep Jayce alive, but only for a few more seconds. Both top laners fall, but now Yagao in a lot of trouble. The junglers did not leave, and JDG lose 2 for 1.
LvMao is coming up here. Kanavi still waiting. Ming a long way from this play. They could look for the 2v2, but without the isolation damage, Kanavi just doesn't really have it.
Does not, but he might have it just now as LvMao jumps in with the Zenith Blade. They're going to use the Solar Flare as well. The isolation damage that you just talked about, Dagda, is good enough, and they will get it back again. Flash in forward, but a great headbutt pulverized on the 2. The TP coming in to try and keep LvMao safe will be enough to dissuade Ming, and he might have himself in a little bit of trouble, but with the Unbreakable, it's TPs all over the place. Double TP here for RNG as they jump back into the fight. Here's the shield around, but it's going to be going golden from LvMao. The gold card was used by Yagao on a minion because he's like, I'm out of here. I ain't dealing with this. And he backs himself up. RNG still coming out trumps.
And RNG, it gets traded back and forth, but every one of those rounds, it's RNG coming out on top. So now you look at the scoreline, 3-0 for Cryin in that mid lane. He's going to be able to go back, get that Everfrost, and control that mid lane a hell of a lot better. You look at Xiaohu in that top lane as well, able to pick up some kills, a bunch of assists, the same with Wei. Now they can continue to put that pressure up towards that top side and finally get that turret. We're going to get a replay here because this was a long one. And you can see here, Xiaohu is trying to bait it in, right? Look at where Galio is in the map. He's like, we will get this pressure here first, especially with Wei able to come in as well. And they win this initial bout. The problem was what we just talked about, right? Kanavi was hovering around for so long, waiting to see if someone would take that one step that would give him the isolation damage, and Wei eventually does do so. LvMao able to set it up so the burst damage is too much, and they start this rigmarole over again. We're just going to come back to live here where Dragon did go the way of JDG, but it does open up the opportunity for Xiaohu to punish top.
It does indeed. That tower very, very low. And look who's back in the top lane. Wei here sitting in a bush waiting for Zoom, and he does land the Sonic Wave, and Zoom doesn't really have anywhere to go right now. He's trying to just use the needlework. One more Q will do it. It's deja vu. I've seen this before. Last time it was SOFM. This time it's Wei, and RNG will take full plates from this top side. Like you said, they don't care about the dragons.
They don't care about these early objectives because they just want that turret. They want to be able to play the map. However, look at bot side. JDG still trading back because you've got to respect the counter map play from Gala and Ming, but potentially a lot of damage onto this tier 2 as that tier 1 in the bottom lane for RNG is still incredibly healthy.
They probably get this. They can tank this one up, no problem. The new gold as well gives basically Wei and Xiaohu a kill each. So that's effectively top tier 1, tier 2, and a kill. So that's a hell of a lot of gold. All of a sudden, it's 2,500 in favor of RNG. It'll be going back to 2,000 now, but that's a great move here from RNG.
And a Jayce that's this far ahead, is terrifying. These accelerated shock blasts are going to be doing half health to pretty much anyone that they hit on JDG's side. Now, the good news, at least for JDG, is you've got some counterplay with the champions you have, right? You can get that spell shield from Loken, the Hollowed Mist for Zoom can make it a little bit more difficult to land the poke from RNG, but once that is down, you just get the rain of arrows continuing from Gala, Xiaohu being able to turn out that bunch of damage. So certainly, you're not quite out of the woods here as JDG. And we got to see now, as Xiaohu comes back onto the map, how do RNG want to play around the richest guy on the map? Because the big carry right now is Xiaohu. He's the Robin Hood. Except he is the rich and he needs to give to the poor, which is the rest of RNG right now. And you can see here, he's grouping up in the mid lane. They want to look for this siege.
I'm going to look for it. Serpent's Fangs already for Xiaohu. 2 items at 15 minutes. He is just a monster, and I don't think JDG really wants to contest anything right now. Yes, he got the 2 early Drakes. It is unfortunately a Cloud Soul. We meme it up a little bit as not as a high priority, but now RNG, they would love a Cloud Soul. They would love a 4 Cloud Soul because that would just give them so much more priority with this Galio ultimate, with this Lee Sin ultimate as well, and see what JDG are able to do. They have got pressure in this bot side as they did give up top lane pressure for the Rift Herald. You can see, look at those wards just littered all around that bot side. No one on RNG could sneeze in this bot side without JDG knowing about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is full control of bot lane for JDG, but we knew that, all right? RNG fully commit towards top side, and Gala and Ming, despite that first mistake, are playing very respectful of that play from JDG. Now that they have Xiaohu starting to roam down, though, that's where they get aggressive. Created the long lane top, Xiaohu pushes in, they're going to try and create a numbers advantage on mid lane.
You see now RNG just trying to win back some of that vision control, and you do see the Umbral Glaive here pick up is pretty much the standard for Kha'Zix now. As you go and just kind of become a utility, you need that isolation, you need that unseen threat to give you that extra damage. Curious to see what he upgraded on his level 6. We go straight in. The Grand Engine's going to be used. Chain of Corruption as well. They may only pick up 1, but it's going to be enough to get everyone from JDG to back up, but they're not done just yet. Zoom is getting killed and taken off the map. He just about keeps himself alive. They get the second charge from Shelly. And RNG, they're looking confident. They're feeling good about these fights right now.
They just took down the engage tool from JDG. They know they're free to just sit here and fire away at JDG because they don't have a risk of anyone trying to engage, especially in a 4 versus 5. So there's 2 towers gone off that Rift Herald play, and just like that, the slow burn from RNG has netted them a 3,500 gold lead. They've got 4 towers picked up for themselves, and as we talked about, creating a numbers advantage in mid lane here. Xiaohu roams over, and Ming with the Unbreakable, right as the tower goes down, sets up this play. You get the lockdown from the Chains of Corruption, followed up instantly by the heroic entrance coming through from the Galio. And then what do? Like, you've got so much CC that's spreading everywhere that if you even try and stay there as JDG, you just end up in a 4-second CC chain that just you can't move from.
3,000 gold, and with Dragon spawning in 30 seconds, I don't even think JDG want to contest it. They can't really go for this one right now. It's too risky. They're just too far behind, and you're looking at the items that have picked up as well. It's not even a mythic here for the Varus. Went straight away to the Manamune, and right now, I'm struggling to see the Twisted Fate pick priority here for the side of JDG. They picked it away from Cryin, but I don't see it doing much. I don't think he's done a single Destiny Gate that's been proactive. It's been more reactive.
Well, that's the thing we were talking about, right? That you actually saw Wei and Ming putting a lot of pressure mid every time Yagao could have made these plays. So they did a really good job of shutting down that potential Destiny from Yagao. And then, of course, we had Cryin, who was able to kind of move a little bit quicker towards those other plays. So, unfortunately for Yagao, it hasn't worked out. And one of the things in that Galio Twisted Fate matchup is, hey, you know, Galio can match a lot of these roams. But Galio's also just better in a team fight. He provides more CC. He's not like able to win you out the fight from damage, but when you've got so much that you can bring to the table and just lock down and crowd control, it means that you're going to be able to win out of these team fights a lot more. So you can see now, RNG, that they've got this lead through the towers. This is where they turn their attention towards the dragons. Now they'll start to contest you on objectives because they've got that big fat wallet and they're happy to use it.
3 items onto Xiaohu, and we're not even 20 minutes into the game. The man is the Monopoly man. He has just got so much money on himself that I just don't see a world in the next 15 to 20 minutes where JDG can actually contest for anything.
Now, and as we said, like, one accelerated shock blast is going to ruin you. Like, already have that Serpent Fang as well, so even if you try to build something that's going to give, like, a little bit of respite here, like the Locket of the Iron Solari for LvMao or something, it doesn't really matter. It's just going to eat through that so damn quickly, and the second that you start to group up, especially if RNG manage to get themselves a Baron, you don't stand a chance underneath these towers.
You really do not, and JDG now sort of just slow down the game, see if they can pick up some items. They have 2 items on the Sivir, so the wave clear is still very, very good. They've got the Zhonya's now picked up for the Twisted Fates, so they've got some survivability. They're just waiting to kind of come into these fights with a little bit more damage and wait for a mistake for RNG, wait for an opening, if you will, for them to try and capitalize on, because the damage is there. If they're able to find someone on their own, he's deleted. It doesn't matter who it is.
And that's where you've got to kind of look towards Kanavi and Yagao, right? If you try to open up the map as a 1-3-1 here for RNG, try and use Xiaohu's lead, use the fact that you've got this Galio, that gives you the moment where, okay, can Kanavi get a bit of time to sneak up topside and work to lock down someone like Cryin, where you can burst him out with that isolation damage? Maybe then you can start to get back control of this map for JDG and actually begin to use these Destiny Gates a bit more proactive. Otherwise, you do just run the risk of RNG, hey, we're going to shove it lanes, we're going to group towards this bot side, towards that last remaining outer tower, group up mid and start to siege onto your inhibitor turrets, and it becomes really difficult for you then to try and contest the dragons that are starting to spawn. Baron control as well, because you can just litter that topside jungle with wards as RNG.
Right now, it is just RNG pushing forward aggressively as we now see a TP in the top side. It's going to be the Everfrost use. Cryin still very, very tanky. They do get the TP out of Xiaohu, and that is the instant runaway button for JDG. They do not want anything to do with the Jayce, the 3-item Jayce right now. Actually went with the Merc Treads. I really like this adaptation from him, recognizing that the only thing that really kills him is CC if he's just locked down and cannot put out damage. So I like that adaptation for him, getting that extra tenacity, but you commit a lot up to the top side, you gain a TP, it's not the worst for JDG.
Yeah, you can see the idea. Oh, hang on.
Yeah, they're going to be able to catch him. This is exactly what I was talking about. CC in isolation. This LEona Kha'Zix combination, and they get the flash from Xiaohu, and they may look for Baron.
And that's just sloppy from Xiaohu. We just said, hey, JDG, they need to try and make these plays where they're looking for picks, get control back in the map. The failed attempt onto Cryin was kind of a breath of relief, and RNG just not respecting that. Now JDG turned towards the Baron. This is going to be a close one.
This is going to be very close. 4v5. LvMao taking a lot of damage, so he is not very tanky without that keystone going in, but he's taken out straight away. Chain of Corruption down onto 3 people, and you can see everyone just trying to run away now. JDG, Kanavi finds him on the backside. The Galio has gone down. They're using the needlework very, very nicely, but Kanavi has been killed as the Kha'Zix does go down. Cleanse and flash, but nowhere to go as Zoom is running with scissors. It's dangerous for you, not for him, and that's going to be a 3-for-2 trade, 3-for-4 overall in favor of JDG.
You'd be pretty happy with that as RNG, though. At least you stopped the Baron, and when your main source of gold wasn't in that fight, the fact you managed to come out even remotely even is a massive win. So RNG, they do lose their mid lane tower, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse. And we'll see it coming here just, again, Cryin backs Xiaohu, doesn't realize it's ward in the bush. Misplace of that ward means that he isn't as safe as he thinks he is. And there you go, LvMao just straight over the wall, manages to get that pick. And wasn't even like Xiaohu thought he was that overextended, but just JDG still in the area managed to punish. But again, we're going to see this fight here. The fact that you don't have the majority of the money on RNG and they still manage to come out somewhat even is insane, right? They pick off LvMao at the very, very start of this. You can see a lot of back and forth, but Kanavi is struggling to find these isolated targets in these fights. Tries to get onto Ming there, which actually sets up the kill for Wei, who escapes over the wall. And then for here, Gala just takes that step too far forward and ends up getting punished.
It was an ambitious move here from JDG. They want to try to go for that Baron as quick as they possibly could. Dragon is spawning in a couple of seconds. Gold card does land. They're going to try and jump everything out onto Gala, Xiaohu, I should say. But Gala ends up getting himself out, and they're going to be able to pick up another kill. And if you can't kill them straight away, there's nothing you can do. The CC chains, the survivability's not going to be enough. Double kill for Wei, and RNG pick up 3 off of JDG, trying to find something for themselves.
That's the Ming VP we love. Coming out once again, you get Xiaohu caught up. Unbreakable, starts to just left, right, and center. Get down, Mr. President. He is knocking everyone out of that fight and manages to keep Xiaohu barely alive. And RNG now off the back of that managed to get this Baron for themselves as well. JDG will get themselves on towards that sole point, but this Baroned up siege from RNG is about to come and crack them in the face.
Great move here from Ming, as we can see just on the replay coming in. Just having the knowledge of who he needs to prioritize in terms of CC, who he needs to get away from the team fight. Honestly, really coming into his own. Had a rough start to the split, but definitely, like you said, looking like the Ming VP that we love and know so much.
And it's a nice pick here from JDG, or at least a nice attempt, right? Got the rapid fire cannon, flash in from Yagao, but look, boom, get rid of the Gwen, she's the main source of damage. Get rid of the LEona, main source of CC, knock up then on the Gwen, who is the main source of damage. And from that point forward, they're able to just return that burst, get back in control of this fight, and pick off 3 members of JDG just like that.
As easy as you like, and all this burst damage in the world, but if you can't lock them down, you just won't be able to do anything about it. You cannot make that damage stick because they're just throwing it back in your face. It is soul point though for the side of JDG. They were able to pick up that dragon off of the back of it, but you're still very much in a hole right now. There's only a 4,000 gold lead here for RNG, but like you said, having the ability to now siege up, put down the poke with the Jayce and the Varus, and even just a CC chain, I don't think anyone can really defend these.
And look, if you try to engage on this as well, it's like, cool, you just saw what Ming is capable of doing. Cryin is now in a position as well, and you've got to try and fight through chains of corruption as well. Like, it's so difficult as JDG to actually fight this. And not a hope as Kanavi you get an isolation damage.
Yagao used his flash in that last engage and he got half-healthed by a piercing arrow accelerated shock blast combination. That is the bottom inhibitor down and out here for JDG. They will not have themselves any pressure in this bot side, and RNG, they're just shifting through the gears. They made a couple of maybe small mistakes, like you said. It wasn't really an unforced error, it was just something that happened, but they've picked themselves back up and they are just looking so good in this game. This game 1 right now, they just seem to have picked a draft that just does everything to counter JDG.
I remember what we pointed out, right, is like something that could do pretty well at shutting down Zoom. They did that at the very get-go. They made sure Zoom was not in a position that he could actually fight, and now they're using this long range to stop any sort of engage from JDG.
Kanavi trying to see if he can threaten off to the side. LvMao taking a little bit of punishment. Has got his Zhonya's finished up for him right now, so he's feeling pretty safe to go in and just pop that invulnerability stasis, but he's taking a lot of poke, and this is where the composition from RNG just shines so much. The poke, the constant pressure, and you have a little bit of like pseudo sustain with the Alistar passive, getting you those heals, getting yourself back topped up. Even these small little power spikes coming out, there's just nothing you can really do. And with LvMao having to go back to reset, he's going to try and chuck out the solar flare, but doesn't really land onto anybody. Ming still very tanky, still very healthy. There's the Zhonya's used by LvMao. The Destiny Gate has come in off the back of this. Yagao gets caught though by the Ming, and he gets himself deleted from Summoner's Rift. RNG are just pummeling JDG.
And that was exactly what we talked about. JDG, they try to pull the trigger, but you're running into a Galio who's ready with that taunt, who's got away, who's able to try and play keep away with the Dragon's Kick. It's so difficult to actually engage onto the sieging composition from RNG. And although it looked a little bit dicey, it's still RNG who are coming away with that win. They still crack open that mid lane turret. And for JDG, you're now winging it on a prayer. Like, we'll see it here, right? LvMao gets a really good engage, but if Ming is standing in the front line, which means LvMao can't go in, Zoom can't go forward, you already get that taunt instantly from Cryin to stop Kanavi from jumping in on top. And then they just turn their attention towards Yagao. They're just like, cool, we can actually just kick with the Dragon's Rage away everyone else, kill Yagao, and that entire play from JDG is ground to dust.
Now you're looking at inhibitor down bot lane, exposed inhibitor in mid lane. RNG just putting down the pressure constantly. It just feels like everything that JDG throw at them, they have an answer to. And you're running out of options right now for JDG. You gotta hope for a pick. You gotta hope for a... Ooh, let's just say that. A lot of damage there onto Ming. He's still not that tanky. He's still gonna do a lot of damage with the Boomerang Braid, but still very few options here for JDG unless RNG make a mistake.
Yeah, Shirley is Reverie Alistar, not exactly the tankiest of Alistars, and you got to see that there. But still, it's pretty hard here as JDG to really do too much. Yes, you can try and poke out and try and you know, get Alistar down, but there's not really going to be too much in stopping this poke that's just longer range than yours. And as well now, with 20 seconds on towards this dragon, the pressure's been kept up enough by RNG. They just fall back over towards the objective, and you just can't contest it here as JDG, even though you'd love to, since it is that soul for JDG.
Honestly, I don't think they can get anywhere near this pit. They have to deal with the super minions. They got to make sure their waves are pushed out and try and get some form of control around this Baron pit, because that objective is going to be spawning in a minute's time. It's nice for RNG. They don't have to trade objectives. They know the timings are slightly off, so they can just push themselves down to that dragon, go back into mid lane, push that one up. The super minions will deal with bot, and right now you can see RNG, this LvMao Kanavi combination. They're trying to lock in the CC with the damage. It is a good idea, but very difficult when RNG know all they have to do is just be this super mega death ball, if you will, just roaming around the map.
And it can be difficult for JDG to try and contest this Baron as it starts to spawn as well, because if you ever leave mid lane, RNG can just run through, start to take that mid inhibitor, fall over to the right hand side, take that second inhibitor, and then they still have the opportunity to threaten you at Baron. So it becomes really hard as JDG here to try and defend both these exposed inhibitors and try and keep up pressure on the Baron. You've seen it here, right? RNG shove in mid, rotate over to clear up vision, and deny JDG the opportunities to try and play both sides.
There's a great ward there in the Raptor pit and also just behind the Baron pit that's just basically keeping JDG in the know that they're probably here if they're not here. As we can see, Wei going in on the Sonic wave, but not quite able to make that one stick. They will get priority into mid. It will be instantly equal out by JDG, and now Kanavi pushing into his red buff. He has not had the greatest of games. 2-2-1, 3 items. Still has yet to pick up his mythic. It's exactly what we saw last time. So still yet to have the Dustbringer of Drakkar on his person. But now with Baron being taken, this goes down fairly quickly. We'll see now if JDG want to go for the contest, but RNG can turn straight off of this. They can just go for the fight if they so choose. These boomerang blades not really hitting. The Everfrost lands, but it's onto Cryin. He's not someone you want to be prioritizing your CC onto. Ming does take a chunk off of him. RNG, though, not feeling super confident. Kanavi jumps in, has the ultimate, so will be getting himself out. Baron resets. Mid lane going to be in the priority of JDG, and this is a bit risky now for RNG.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some healing through Wei, and as you said, through the Alistar, but a lot of poke going back and forth, and LvMao now is too low to really go for this engage, so it feels like JDG are kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. The poke is coming in fast.
Poke is coming in fast. Mid lane was pushed in favor of JDG, but you can see the damage already down. Jayce is the one who picks up the Baron. The Grand Engine's here for Cryin as he tries to get himself into this fight, and JDG are running great double Everfrost there onto LvMao and Yagao as they both fall to death at Baron. RNG in firm control.
And although it looked risky from RNG, the difference was the frontline health bars for both sides. And RNG, they play it well. They fight back JDG and get a Baron for themselves. And now, 2 exposed inhibitors. Only a single inhibitor tower in that top side. We just saw how obnoxious this Baron push was. And you've got to deal with it again here as JDG. But watch, LvMao already taken incredibly low. You don't have Yagao in a position where you can actually threaten backline. And when you look at Cryin, insanely healthy, Ming, who got that unbreakable will to go in aggressive as well, it means that you just don't have the health bars in the front line that you need for JDG to try and contest this. So RNG, they peel off Baron, they get the fight, they get the big purple worm, and now they're looking for inhibitors.
I mean, Kanavi needs to get himself back into his base. He has to flash. He knows if he gets hit with that headbutt, the pulverize is not far away, so he no longer has that summoner in his pocket. And now with these exposed inhibitors, the groundwork that was done earlier on, RNG can just push in, not a care in the world, and there's just no real answer for JDG. They're just going to have to let this happen.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the top wave as well. That's about to crash too. So RNG, if they even want to, can just rotate over there and pick that up, or they can start to siege on towards the... Oh my God, Loken!
Good God, Loken almost just taken out of the server right there. So much damage. This 6th item Xiaohu is just insane, and now the fight can really happen. Walk fight. It was just a massacre onto LvMao. He's dead. Where's your engage? You have no way of coming back into this fight. The shield of Duran onto Zoom means that he's now caught between a rock and a hard place. Zoom will just about stay alive, but your Nexus turrets have fallen. This is going to be RNG almost certainly taking game 1.
I mean, there's 4 members still up for JDG and very low health bars on RNG.
Oh, they're going to go for it. We do see Cryin going golden. He's got the Zonyas to keep himself alive. And, of course, the safeguard now with the Nexus exposed. I don't think you can defend this. Loken is dead. They're going to try and just pad the health bars off the side of RNG. They can turn back and take the fight. They have the cooldowns. The ace comes in, as does the first game. RNG still on a roll.
And Xiaohu ends it with the triple kill, the only way to put the full stop on game number 1, which was dominated by this Jayce in the top lane. And we highlighted at the start of the day, if you can start to shut down Zoom, JDG will start to struggle. And they end up putting Zoom behind massively in these early stages. Dive from level 3, making sure that he's not able to collect that big wave. They continue to put that pressure up there with Cryin. And bit by bit, RNG, they get control, they get that first tower, and then they just start to play out the map better than JDG. And despite the fact you saw these 3 dragons going over to JDG's side, they could just never capitalize on that fact.
Just got too far behind. It is a risk you take. Yes, you get the early dragon stacking, but the goal now and power now just can snowball out of control. Will become an avalanche against you, and see Zoom, like you talked about, completely shut down in this game, doing the least damage, excluding LvMao on his team, and really just wasn't a factor at all.
And you can see that especially with this composition, right? You kind of needed the Gwen to be a secondary carry, because Loken, as much as he's going to put out damage with this poke Sivir build, not really going to be able to live up to the hype of a Jayce and a Varus. You need to be able to get in and get aggressive, but when LvMao is already LvMao had some decent engages, but you just don't have the damage to then follow up on that. And with Zoom lacking, your all-in isn't there, and it means that RNG, even in those all-in scenarios, were just about able to get out of that and then turn that fight back around.
And honestly, you look at RNG as well, it didn't look like they, in any way, shape, or form, were struggling. It looked like it was easy. Another day at the office, we're picking up wins, we're picking up fights, we're not worried about it. There was one moment where Xiaohu got caught out, but after that, RNG dictated the pace.
And I think a lot of that kind of came from what we talked about in draft, right? Where we had the third lock-in for JDG, and we're like, look, you got to go towards your AD carry or a jungle. And they didn't actually get the jungle. It meant that we got this Kha'Zix that was coming in, and Kha'Zix just never got a chance to have an impact. You don't have the lane parties to try and go for these deep invades, so you can get these 1v1 and utilize the isolated damage. It felt like we end up kind of Kanavi being used as a poke bot with the W, which was just never going to be effective in this scenario. So I certainly think coming into game number 2, we'll see a mix-up coming through for Kanavi on the picks that he wants to select, and then we can actually see JDG start their game plan, which is, hey, let's get a bunch of these early kills coming through from that jungle and start to try and snowball these advantages.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. As JDG, they're going to be reeling from that one, licking their wounds just a little bit, but RNG very much on their way to making it 6 from 6. We're going to send it to a quick break, and when we return, we will have picks and bans for game 2 very shortly.